no one that is committed in advancing that program would be happy with the state of the alliance. First, would be happy with the state of the country, especially considering the outcomes of May 22. Superior logic, they never came to the play.
Who are those?
For instance, EFF. For instance, the Jacob Zuma Party. For instance, the Democratic Alliance. For instance, the PAC. It was only one organization that drafted. Let me finish. Let me make.
Jacob Zuma Party.
It is a Jacob Zuma Party.
Okay.
It is. It is a Jacob Zuma Party at the end of the day. We'll come to that at some point. I would differ with the statement to say that the National Democratic Revolution is something that we are never going to achieve.
No, it's impossible.
Yeah. Okay.
Define what it is and how you think we're going to get it.
Yeah. Okay. What does it stand to build? Let's start there. Mm-hmm. What kind of a... Remember, the National Democratic Revolution is a struggle to build a particular kind of society.
You had 31 years and failed dismally.
Yeah. Okay. And had to go there just to report to, America as if we were being summoned. We were not summoned. It was an opportunity for South Africa to sell its story. And it did exactly that.
What story did they sell?
Huh?
What story did South Africa sell there? That they are begging for help?
No.
That they are looking for drones?
No, but there's a...
Mashiane Politically Incorrect, Tshwane, a man who's grounded in the politics of the Congress movement, one of the best revolutionary movements in the continent of Africa. This man is a socialist. I'm going to allow him, he's a visitor in our podcast, he's been here a few times ago, but I'm going to allow him to tell us his politics, and from there we're going to unpack where we put him in the political spectrum.
That's a very nice introduction. It's a very nice introduction. I appreciate it.
Yes.
My name is Walter Tompani. I've joined the movement at an early age, and when I was joining the movement, I was not even aware that I was being recruited, but all that made sense at the later stage, Yes. I'm residing here in Tshwane. I'm in the leadership of the Communist Party of South Africa in the district of Tshwane. But I'm also deployed in the caucus of the ANC in legislature as a media liaison specialist. I believe in a better South Africa, but that better South Africa must be under socialism. I'm happy that you said I'm a socialist, not a communist, but socialist, because being a communist is very difficult. So I'm an aspirant, communist. That would just be an introduction just on the man behind the name, Walter Tompani.
Thank you very much. So I argue a lot in this podcast that I do not like dictionary terms because it confines us to what a writer have. So someone could have defined communism 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And like, for instance, the word communism in the past 45 years has been defined to mean a terrorist by all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And for me, communism is just an extreme form of socialism, because communists are socialists.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a textbook that defines it that way, but that's just to me, because socialism, I mean, the extreme form of socialism is it's a communist state. Yes, that's where like they are strictly practicing socialism. But anyway, I don't like telling people what they are and who they are. I like to listen to them. Yeah. So South Africa, 2025. South Africa, a beacon of hope in Africa. South Africa transitioned into what people called a dream, because all other African countries would have wished to be South Africa, because Slovo said it's a colonialism of a special time. Are you happy where we are? Are there any examples of what we could have become? When I spoke to Naledi Pandor, I said, actually Namibia, if you think of it, they almost had 11, we had about 11 years of maybe mimicking what they did wrong so we could correct, because we were both colonized by
the British,
Afrikaner, Germanic, Frenchish people, and we, our apartheid was similar. It left us with Africans and. So just give it to us. How do you think the African National Congress came here, and what are the best examples in Africa? You could name anyone that you think we are doing it wrong, or whatever you want. Look, I'll sit here and listen.
Yeah, look, let me just, I think it will be safe to first say that whatever views that I'm going to share with you, I'm not necessarily representing the African National Congress. I think if the African National Congress wanted to have someone to promulgate its ideas, they would have done so. I think it's important that we clear that one. Neither am I representing the views of the South African Communist Party, because I don't want to go out of here and get accused as to say, but this views does not represent us as an organization, But let me start here, Mashiane. Look, I don't think anyone that is committed in advancing our program, our shared program. We have a shared program as the Alliance and all mass democratic movement structures, and that program is called the National Democratic Revolution. And I don't think I would want to contend that no one that is committed in advancing that program would be happy with the state of the Alliance. First, would be happy with the state of the country, especially considering the outcomes of May 2024. Especially considering that the African National Congress says it was a strategic setback.
And in fact, just to jog your memory, you remember before the elections, I asked you, you said you are not budgeting to go into coalition. You are not contesting to be number 2.
Yes.
You are not contesting to find alliance partners.
Of course.
Those will be consequences of your performance.
Of course. But you must also acknowledge that material conditions will always dictate the direction that one must take, despite how you felt previously about something. And the position that we don't contest to be in a coalition arrangement was a correct one. It was a correct one. You don't engage in a contest to lose. You engage in a contest to win. And I think my response was said in that context. So as I was saying, that I don't believe that anyone that is committed in advancing the National Democratic Revolution would be happy with the state of the country, because it is a serious setback. It is a serious setback, something that the entire movement must deal with. All of us must deal with it, must find a way to deal with it. You you would have seen, just to emphasize the point that this was a strategic setback, you would have seen with the manner in which some of our coalition partners, their posture on their policy direction that we want to take as a country through the African National Congress, you would have seen what would have been their reaction. So you would have seen with the NHI how the DA reacted. You'd have seen with the Bela how they've reacted. You'd have seen recently with Employment Equity Act how they reacted, expropriation of land, you'd have seen their reaction. And it makes sense. For me, it makes sense as to why the DA is reacting that way, because they want to serve their own class interest, and their constituency. We don't share a constituency. Obviously, we don't share a constituency. That one is clear. And as a result, obviously, from time to time, there might be some conflict. There might be some conflict. But at the end of the day, Mashiane, government had to be formed. Despite our differences, despite our different ideological background and political background, but government had to be formed. So what do? You take compromises, and that's what we have done. And something that is normally not said was that there were parties, I'm not going to mention their names, they were saying that the ANC must be liquidated, completely liquidated. I think it's a view that was shared by many political parties, but only a few came out to say it in that way. Only a few were brazen in that particular manner to say that it must be liquidated. You know what I thought when the ANC, when I saw the outcomes of May 2024, I said perhaps it's an opportunity for opposition parties to tell South Africans that this is the way we believe that we can move as a country. But none of them came to play. None of them. Those who claim that they possess superior logic, they never came to the play.
Who are those?
For instance, EFF. For instance, the Jacob Zuma Party. For instance, the Democratic Alliance. For instance, the PAC. It was only one organization that drafted. Let me finish. Let me make.
Jacob Zuma Party.
It is a Jacob Zuma Party.
Okay.
It is. It is a Jacob Zuma Party at the end of the day. We'll come to that at some point, if maybe time permits. But I wouldn't want us to go there, but it is what it is. Now, this was an opportunity for these political parties to express their capacity, in terms of ideas, of how to take the country and take it forward. There's only one party that sat down and said, you know what, comrades, we are in this predicament. What must happen? Let's engage. Then out of that engagement, what came later as a result of that engagement was the statement of intent. How to form a coalition government, how to move forward as a country, how to ensure that parliament doesn't collapse, how to ensure that government doesn't collapse simply because of electoral outcomes. Which party has done that? None. No party has done that. So who expressed superior logic? I'll leave that one to your viewers and yourself, and perhaps those you might invite to the show at some point. The ANC drafted that statement of intent and invited all the parties. It was not the responsibility of just the ANC. Remember, at the time, no one is leading the country. No one has got a 50 plus to govern on their own. So this responsibility becomes a responsibility of all parties. But I reiterate the point, it was only one political formation that has said this is how we believe we can move the country forward, considering the conditions that we find ourselves in. And we've done that. As a result, you have the GNU.
Okay, so do you then understand the criticism that came after Ramaphosa has left office? When Ramaphosa came to congratulate the IEC, and people were, why is he speaking as a president and not the president of the ANC? Why is he posturing as if he's the president? Well, he was not. And I'm happy you spoke about how he was no longer and the country was not led. But the ANC came forward to say, guys, this is what we want, and it started attracting everyone. So you do understand at some point we did not have a commander-in-chief. We hung because no one had absolute majority.
Absolute majority. Yeah.
So, being there as it may, you do concur that the NDR, as it were, the National Democratic Revolution, has been
derailed.
Has been a big disappointment.
Derailed.
Yeah, derailed to an extent that it's even El Dorado. It's something that we are never going to even achieve, because now we're in coalition politics.
Can I pause you there?
Please do.
Can I pause you there? I would differ with the statement to say that the National Democratic Revolution is something that we are never going to achieve.
No, it's impossible.
Yeah. Okay.
Define what it is and how you think we're going to get it.
Yeah. Okay. What does it stand to build? Let's start there. What kind of a... Remember, the National Democratic Revolution is a struggle to build a particular kind of society.
You had 31 years and failed dismally.
Yeah, okay. And what are the objectives of that program?
That's what, I just want you to define it, so when you and I engage in discourse, our audience can follow.
I'm getting there. So the most important thing, what is it that you want to achieve with this program?
No, define it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A National Democratic Revolution, okay, maybe it will be important for me to give historical background as well. I think it's important. It's fair. You'd remember. Now I'm feeling like I'm in a political class.
Please do. Please do.
You'd remember that there was a revolution in Russia.
Yes.
1917. They call it many names. Some are saying the October Revolution. Some would prefer to say the October Socialist Revolution. Some would say it was a Bolsheviks Revolution. You know, different names attached to it. It was a revolution against the Tsar regime. The Tsar were like the monarch, the monarch at the time in Russia, which was overthrown in 1917 by the Bolsheviks led by a man called Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. It's important to mention that event because it highly influenced our politics. Now, in April of that year, remember Lenin was in Siberia, as in he went to exile in Siberia. When he came back, because that revolution was not started by him and the Bolsheviks, but when he came back from exile, he found that there was Kornesetsi at the time. But I think what he has done was to give it direction. Then in April of that year, he analyzed that revolution or an attempt to overthrow the Tsar regime. And as he was analyzing some of the wrong things and the good things that were committed there, he wrote something he called the April thesis. It has 10 theses. But I want to speak on the 10th thesis because it's the most important one. He says that, as he was analyzing, that, after we take this thing, there must be a communist international where all the communists across the globe, they are put under one umbrella to discuss their issues. Communists in Africa, Europe,
like
Asia.
G8 organizations.
Yes. Now, in 1920, in the second Congress of that Comintern, of that Communist International, there was a commission there, Mashiane. In that commission, they dealt with the question, the national question of backward countries. Perhaps, for instance, South Africa, which was considered a backward country because of colonialism and the oppression and something, The concept of national democratic revolution, that's where it comes from that commission. There were two people that were leading that commission. It was Lenin himself. It was Manabandra Nethroy of India. So when they reported back to Congress, they said that, maybe some of this, I'm going to use a very big term, maybe some of these national liberation movements in the African continent we must not characterize them as bourgeois democratic movement. Maybe they are nationally revolutionary movements, as they were discussing now, So the concept of that, the concept of this program comes there. Now, it's the national democratic revolution is a national struggle. There must be national identity. There must not be exploitation of one man against the other. And then the kind of society that we seek to build from that program is that it must be non-racial. It must be non-sexist. It must be democratic, meaning that you must have organs of people's power. You must have parliament, you must have legislatures, you must have councils, you must have a government, you must have, people that are elected into positions of power by the people themselves in a democratic way. And it must be prosperous. Perhaps prosperous, now you are dealing with the economic aspect of it. That's why, the kind of policies that the African National Congress is trying to drive, land expropriation, to create that form of equality. So now, this program, Mashiane, is suffering a serious setback. It's suffering a serious setback. But in every revolution, there will sometimes be those kind of challenges. And the African National Congress is not an exception. The National Democratic Revolution is not an exception. I mean, go to Nicaragua, the Sandinistas. What happened? What happened? I mean, let me make an example. Let me make this point. What happened to SWAPO? What is happening to AMPLA? What happened to ZANU in Zimbabwe? Look at all these national liberation movements that have liberated the people of Africa. Electorally, what is happening?
That's exactly why I want to interject.
Yeah.
To say,
yeah.
You and I are almost of the same age.
Mm-hmm.
We did student politics and youth politics around the same time.
Mm.
And at around the time that we were youth, a lot of discussion on the NDR, it was that time of talking about, the eye of the needle, that when we went to political schools, we would discuss such. One of the pressing issues about the NDR, and of course it links to Sankara at some point, and this is what we're going to discuss in the future. the NDR envisages a system where socialism is going to thrive. And it also says, in that condition, democracy, government of the people, by the people, blah, 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 it envisages that. But you and I know, once you've got
part of it is reached. Part of
once
it is
you
reached.
have a democratic dispensation, you cannot survive but use capitalism. And not, of course, of your own, but the faults of this thing. Because then capitalism comes. Because what
Let me pause.
No. Allow me, because I said back.
Okay.
Once you allow people to contest, they need money to contest. And this is where capitalists thrive, because they can fund people's campaigns. And when they fund people's campaigns, those who've deep pockets can win electoral contests. When they win electoral contests, then capitalism thrives. That's the first part. You spoke about bourgeoisies. The bourgeoisies, Mugoni, is the reason we're here. Because what this dispensation that came with SWAPO is because you have allowed people to participate as independent people in a democracy instead of socialism. And I'm not saying socialism will win everywhere, but once we participate economically as individuals, and we study, we elevate ourselves, we acquire the iPhones, dedicated communities, and we become bourgeoisies. A contradiction in terms, because socialism, it's almost an opposite of bourgeoisies, because once they exist in that, over the contradiction. So this entire confusing theory is because the NDR was presented. And I'm saying this NDR is going to confuse us even more. And that's why I'm saying, yes, it can exist in theory, but in reality, we can try as much as possible to pursue it, but we're never going to get to it. But I'm going to give it back to you, and then we'll close and we'll start the Sankara issue, because I want this to link to this.
What will confuse you, Mashiane?
Yeah.
What will confuse you? Because I'm listening attentively. You are using the word confusion.
Yes.
Confusing. What will confuse you by saying that we need a society whereby women are not going to be exploited simply because of their gender? What is going to be confusing about a society whereby people will not get exploited simply because of the skin of their colors? What is so confusing about that kind of society? What is so confusing about a society whereby we say that all the minerals that we have must be shared equally? What is going to be so confusing about a society whereby we are saying that the land must be, distributed according to those who work it? I mean, what's
skin of their color or color of the skin? It doesn't matter. What will confuse me is
it does matter because
someone to give you money to contest. That person already buys you.
It does matter. It does matter in this context because we come from a period whereby it was used against us.
No.
It was apartheid. At the heart of apartheid was the issue of race.
But it
was the issue of racism.
It was the apartheid. It was the apartheid peddlers who funded the ANC, who told us they were ready to govern.
No, now you are entering into a topic for.
Yes.
But I would disagree with that statement. I would disagree with this with that statement.
Okay.
What about?
Hold it there, let me put it to you. Hold it there, let me put it to you.
Yeah, but let me put it to you as well before you come. What about the Soviet Union?
So
what about the Soviet Union, which played a critical role? By the way, not only
if they played a critical role,
not only.
Why did we go to the Oval House to go and answer?
Not
if
only
the Soviet played a critical role, why didn't we go to Moscow?
You are referring to the recent...
Yes, of course. Because I'm trying to show you that the capitalists who were oppressing us during apartheid are the same peddlers, are the same funders of this current dispensation.
I want to deal with this. I want to deal with this topic by topic so that we don't, find ourselves losing each other.
What you were contesting was the fact that I said the people who were oppressing South Africa, financially and otherwise, are the same people who were then become the big funders of the ANC. The people who were economically active, the people who were economically drawing a trajectory for the country to go, are the same people who eventually funded ANC big wigs and in essence captured the ANC.
Then guess what, Mashiane? Guess what, Mashiane? The allegation of the ANC being captured.
It's not an allegation.
No. Let me finish. The allegation, I want to say it's an allegation. Yeah. The allegation of the ANC being captured by whoever is not new. It's all over. But if you go to America, they will say that the ANC is captured by Russia. They will say that. Many books have been written about that. Because they
want you to go to the Oval House and the principal office.
If you go to there's a book written by Vladimir Shubin. It is titled The Hot Cold War. You must find time to read it. The USSR in Southern Africa. It deals with many interventions that were done by the Soviet Union then, in assisting liberation movements to form armed struggles and stuff like that. But this is the point that I'm trying to make. If you look at what led to the Sino-Soviet split, that Sino-Soviet split, there were allegations that others were saying, but the ANC is captured by China, for instance. The communists in China have captured liberation movements. You go to America, they will say, no, but it is the Soviet Union that has captured. So I'm saying that allegation that we are being captured by the Americans and stuff, there are many allegations around it, but it doesn't mean that if it's an allegation, then it's correct and it's true. It doesn't mean that when the American says that we are captured by the Chinese, then it's true. It doesn't mean that when they say that we are captured by forces in Russia, that it's true. It's not true. But you mentioned the issue of America as well. I think it deserves to be responded to. It does deserve to be responded to. Someone was saying that this is the contention that they raised during that theatrics, by Donald Trump. Someone says, if I was, and within the movement, you get this thing sometimes within the movement, not just externally, but within as well. That I say that, if I was Ramaphosa, I was not going to go there. I was embarrassed. Trump was. My immediate reaction was that, Mashiane, it was a global stage. The world was watching. It was an opportunity for South Africa to sell its story. It was an opportunity, despite the reaction by Donald Trump. Because when you are in that space, Mashiane, you are not just dealing with Donald Trump. You are dealing with the world. The world is watching. The world needs clarity. Is there genocide in South Africa? Are white people getting removed from their land? Are they being killed? Are they being persecuted? And things like that. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump's views are, but you must understand that you are dealing with the world. As a result, you must have that composure, you must be reasonable, you must be patient, and I think that's what our president did. So it was not an issue, as you say, that we had to go there just to report to, America as if we were being summoned. We were not summoned. It was an opportunity for South Africa to sell its story. And it did exactly that.
What story did they sell?
Huh?
What story did South Africa sell there? That they are begging for help?
No.
That they are looking for drones?
No, but there's
That's what you just said. You said an opportunity for them to sell our story.
No. The story is that we are a peaceful nation, and we made
No.
it. No. We did.
No.
We did.
Akomanis, you are lying to me.
We refuted.
You are lying to me.
We refuted the malicious claims.
The four
that
white guys who
in
spoke
South
there.
Africa.
The 4 white guys who
Yes,
spoke there.
yes.
They were all begging
Yeah.
for Trump.
Yeah.
Let me name them.
Yeah.
Latif Hussein,
Okay.
the Big Easy,
Yeah.
Rupert,
Yeah.
Johnston Hazen.
Yeah.
All 4 of them
Yeah.
were begging
Yeah.
Donald Trump for assistance.
Okay.
This is the picture they painted.
Okay.
We are a violent country. That's
Okay.
what they painted.
Yeah.
We need assistance from you.
Yeah.
I mean, some
he
of them even mentioned
He also mentioned that
Starlink.
he also mentioned that New York is violent as well. So
That-
we are a violent globe. We are a violent world.
No, but it doesn't matter. Now what matters now is
Yeah.
you said on the global stage, what did we say?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you that we begged another sovereign country to assist another foreign country.
Yeah,
and represented by 4 white men
and
against 2 African people who spoke.
Yeah, but you don't even say that the president of COSATU has made a very remarkable comment. You don't say.
You know what comment she made? She said,
But the
we are
point I wanted
indeed
to
a
make-
violent country. That's what she said.
Yeah, against what Donald Trump believes, that there's white genocide, there's crime which only affects white people. And that claim was refuted to say that no, crime also affects all of us. It doesn't matter if you're black,
She said we are
if
a
you're
violent
white.
country.
Yes, we are.
But
it was a correct statement.
No.
What is so wrong about that?
We
but
are
the
not.
point,
if we were,
unfortunately, according to SAPs
a
and the
lot of people
statistics,
would not be demanding, a lot of people would not be begging to come and live in our country if we were. And now I refute that claim that we are a very violent country. And you said at the global stage, this is what we said. You understand? So in my view, she did not do everything right because she mentioned that we are a violent country.
You know.
But anyway, I'll give it to you.
You know, New York is very violent. You know that. You know that.
I don't know very violent.
No, there's gangster. There's the kind of gangsterism.
Where in New York? In Manhattan, Queens,
the entire New York. The entire New York. The entire. You know
New York
the kind
is a
of
state.
Yes.
The state of New York.
Yes, it's very violent. It's not to me. It's not according to
because
me.
of Rupert.
It's not according to according to statistics. American statistics. They also release their own statistics.
Yes.
They do. Donald Trump is also fighting against gangsterism. In as much as we are fighting gangsterism in Cape Flats, Donald Trump is also having the same challenge. That's why in that press briefing, by the way, it was not a meeting whereby serious issues were discussed, which is something that we are going to come to. Which is something that we don't talk about. But the point was that New York is very violent. The same kind of gangsterism that we fight against in Cape Flats, Donald Trump is also fighting against that.
Granted.
Yes.
Granted. Why do we beg?
Now, going back.
Why do we beg?
No, who begged? You know, that's...
The 4 guys, all of them begged.
Yeah, okay.
All the 4 white guys begged.
Okay.
They said, we are a violent country. We seek assistance. Why do you seek assistance from someone that, by your own admission, the state of New York, the whole state, not only the city, is battling very violent gangsterism culture.
I think
so why do you beg him? You said it's a global stage.
Remember
at the global stage, you
how
can't be begging for someone who's also battling.
Yeah, but let's clarify this one. Remember how that came about?
No.
You don't remember?
Remind me.
Oh, let me remind you. There was an issue of Starlink that was raised in that press briefing, not in the meeting where serious issues are dealt with. In that briefing, with the cameras and everyone, the entire world watching.
That's Rupert saying he donated drones and he will be happy to have Starlink.
Yeah. Is that they would be happy to have Starlink? Why? Because if Musk were to be allowed to
doesn't it embarrass you that we went to go and ask for Starlink?
No, but listen to this one. Listen to this one. I think it's important for us to say this. It's very important for us to say this. Maybe let me just start with the delegation. Can I just start with the delegation?
Do that.
you had a delegation in the form of those white people that you've just mentioned.
As Retief Hussein, John Steenhuisen, and Johan Rupert.
Okay.
Elon Musk. He was present. We are all counting the presidents because you can't tell me those. I don't know what they came with. So
I wanted to deal with Elon Musk. Was there as a delegation of the United States under Trump.
All
yeah.
Right.
Now, if you check that delegation was a very diverse one. You know, you had people in business. You had COSATU representing labor, you had the ministers, you have the head of state, you have someone who's in love with golf, you know, sportsman, you know. So it was a very diverse delegation, if we were to put it that way. But you see, Mashiane, this is where we missed the point. What was said, there were two platforms there. Maybe let me just start there. There were two platforms.
We only saw one.
Yeah.
We hear by you saying there was a side meeting.
Yes. No, there were two platforms, Mashiane. There were two platforms. Okay? You can't discuss the deal of a country in front of the cameras through a press briefing. It's not possible.
That's why we are angry.
Yeah, it's not. So you wanted So you wanted us to discuss deals with the entire world watching. It's not possible.
We didn't even want.
Let me just make the point. Let me just make the point. Now there were things that were said. There were things that were said during that press briefing, whereby the entire world was watching, and those things were said by many people. You just mentioned how Rupert was begging, but I never saw Cyril begging. I didn't see the ministers begging. Okay, that's... Now, there was also another platform where serious matters were being discussed. For instance, you know the issue of, and this is according to the president. This is according to the president, and I don't think he has any reason to mislead the nation or anyone. He said that the issue of Starlink was not even part of the discussion. It was not. It was, according to him, it was not. And no one has, even the Americans, they never refuted that statement. So I don't have any reason to believe that he was lying. So why am I mentioning this? Why am I mentioning this, Mashiane? It's important to mention this because your issue is that you wanted to take what was said in that press briefing to say, yeah, you see, these are the issues that are going to be. You know what? These are the issues that were.
I'm happy to say it's not discussed. So you and I are political animals. So in my undergrad I studied political science, and I would remember they would define power as the ability. That's political science literature.
To influence.
Yeah, the power to influence someone to unilaterally do something that they wouldn't ordinarily do.
Yeah.
So let's take.
So he was lobby.
No.
The man was lobby. But what he was lobbied for,
they exerted so much power that we gave them Starlink without even discussing it. Yeah. You understand? That's political power by definition.
What makes you say that we gave them?
We gave them. So after coming back, the Malati started saying, yeah, from September we're working on this thing. September we're working on this thing.
Okay.
So we gave away Starlink.
Okay. So it's not. It's still to be considered.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I agree. Theatrics of politics must take place. No. So to look as if we did not give it to them.
So we didn't give them.
We
didn't give.
Okay. Mashiane Politicallyincorect. This is what I'm going to do.
You didn't give them.
I'm not closing it because I'm tired of the topic. I'm closing it because we are running out of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close it. Mugoni, I hope you're going to come back for another one. So this is what I'm going to do. Thank you very much. Please comment. Tell us what you feel about it. You'll catch him again when he comes. Thank you.